So the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the king of kings. And I'm talking about the iPhone 14 Pro Max in the term of just regular smartphones. We know Apple doesn't have a flipping phone. We know they don't have a foldable yet. So I'm talking about just this straight up iPhone 14 Pro Max in the terms of just regular smartphones. Of course, there's nothing really to talk about when it comes to competing against foldables. I'm going to talk about 10 reasons why I think this is the case, and you could decide if you agree with that or not, and let me know your thoughts on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, I've had it a little over 9 months, and you can see I'm still at 100% capacity with some pretty heavy usage. First thing I did immediately was turn on the optimized battery charging and clean energy charging. All right, so the very first reason. Now, the first reason is because I think every phone is still benchmarking itself against the current or the latest iPhone. You can see a lot of manufacturers, trying to do a better camera system, trying to make their phones faster, smoother, but it seems like they're always trying to one up this phone right here, the iPhone. And you'll see it in terms of they're trying to make their animation smoother. Some of the Xiaomi phones, in my opinion, their icons look the same. They copy the control center up here. And then you'll see phone manufacturers trying to one up Apple every time in the camera department, but still falling short in terms of just the overall results. And I'm not saying that some of them can't beat it in certain areas like zoom or just, overall just results like the Pixel does, I think, in certain areas like night sight and stuff like that. But it's just like, it seems like every phone out there is always trying to one up the iPhone. And so for that reason, if it ain't the real king, then why is everybody trying to stack up or beat this phone? It's because it's the king of sales. It's the king of, everybody's looking at this as the top dog. That's why they're always trying to outdo it. So the next one is years and years of chip development have made this phone right here one of the smoothest phones, if not the smoothest phone on the market today. And you'll see it with the combination of the A series chip that Apple has employed on here, along with the ProMotion display, making this phone just fly through basically everything. And now, because Apple does have more of a tendency to lean towards a smoother look with their animations, they're looking more towards the user experience. You'll see in my speed test that the Samsung S23 Ultra and some other phones do pop a few things open quicker. But I will tell you, if I'm being totally honest with you, day to day, nothing really touches or beats the iPhone 14 Pro Max when it comes to the overall smooth feel that I get and the consistency of the animations every day. It's unbeatable. And I do think that the iPhone still has the absolute smoothest overall consistent experience on a smartphone today. And I don't know how long they're going to retain this because the phones are really catching up the other competitors. But for now, I got to tell you, I'm incredibly happy with the performance here. No matter what you're doing, this phone just really always feels smooth. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. There is times when applications will crash, and there is times where you'll see bugs and stuff like that, like an app will just freeze up or something. But that's typically related to the current iOS version, and it typically gets fixed. So it's not perfect, but it's still the most consistent, smooth feel that I've felt on a smartphone all around. And I think it comes down to the way the animations look, the way Apple holds the screenshot image they've done in the past, and just kind of holds that application in the background. It just always seems ready, and it always seems fast and consistent. Now, the next one is the cameras. Now, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the king of king here as well. Not in every single area, don't get me wrong. The Samsung blows this thing away in terms of the zooming quality. But here's why I think the iPhone is still a king in the camera area. While there is more granular control, is how you use your phone on, some other smartphones can really dive deep into the more camera-like experience. With the iPhone, I think they have the best consumer grade Pro and regular camera out there. Now you'll see we do have the iPhone 14 Pro recording this video right now, and if you want to get an idea of this phone, it's kind of a mixture between giving you pro-like stuff as well as a great camera for everybody who wants a point and shoot. So if you want to use the pro stuff, you can definitely dive deep and get a little bit deeper in here. They also have a lot of really good camera apps on the App Store that really take it a little bit more pro. I have a manual camera app, for example. The zooming is very consistent across the board, and I like how the results kind of all match up very good on the iPhone. And the portrait modes have been refined over the years. Selfie camera really does shine, I think, as well, giving you really good skin tones and all that good jazz. But honestly, it's just really a great point and shoot camera, an amazing video camera that reminds me very much of a camcorder. The thing just always has crisp, amazing focus. And because of that, if you're into video, I think this is the main choice right here. There's no phone out there where you can just fire up the video application and just get the consistent same results all the time, every time. This is the phone you want if you want a video tool and you don't want to know how to make video. You don't want to have to learn all the ins and outs of, exposure and all that. Just turn on the video application, hit the record button, and go. And the iPhone will give you pretty much 90% of the quality that you're going to need every time. So it's the king of kings here in the camera department still. There is phones, again, that are beating in zoom, beating it in certain results, certain conditions, but I think as an all-around consumer camera, like for what most people are going to use their smartphone for, and then if you want to go a little bit more pro, the iPhone has great applications, and you can also use those pro applications to get amazing results out of these lenses as well. So amazing. It's just a really great camera system. Next up is the value. Now, this is last year's iPhone 13 Pro Max. I just did a quick Google search. I want to illustrate what I'm talking about here. Now, a 13 Pro Max is from last year. People are still getting $800 for a phone that launched well over a year ago. Now, you just can't do that with an Android phone. So it's the king in terms of getting your money back out of this purchase as well. This iPhone right here is still worth well over, $600 easily, even though I paid like 13 for it, like 12 to 13 for it. It's probably actually worth closer to $900 on the used market, even though I've had this thing almost a year. You're not going to find a lot of phones that are worth that. And it feels really good to know that you're going to get a big value on a smartphone because you can apply it to the next one, or you can just sell it off if you need the cash. So this is really, really strong in this area. And because of that, it's really hard to justify paying $1,000+ on phones that you know are just going to just drain in value just in a little bit of time, unless of course you're a YouTuber or you're somebody who can just write that off as a business expense, because other than that, you're really going to be out all that cash pretty quickly. So for everyday users, it's a good investment to get an iPhone just because of the value they hold. Now I'm specifically talking about the pros and the bigger models, because the cheaper models don't really hold their value too well anymore, specifically SEs. They don't get you really anything back, but these more pro models, the ones you're going to pay $1,000+ for, they really hold their value long term. The next reason it's the king of kings is the battery life. Now, it's not the best battery phone on the market, I feel like, but it definitely has, the most consistent day-to-day use and doesn't really change too much with updates. Also, if you go to low power mode, it will last a lot longer. And while I think the 13 Pro Max was better here, even to this day, it was still better than this phone, the 14 Pro Max. The iPhone is one of those phones that can stay on 100 for a while and has some of the best standby I've seen. So if you are looking for, a really good, strong battery life, I still think the iPhone is definitely a king of a choice in this area as well. So definitely consider that if it's something you care about. The next reason this phone is some of the best out there is just its raw performance. Now, you will find yourself getting really amazing performance on this phone, and where it really shines is not so much in that it has the absolute best chip in the world. It might be pretty close, but we do have Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 2, seemingly better in certain areas. But the A17 coming along will probably outdo that. It's not that. It's how Apple optimizes everything. And this phone just feels like I am literally running a MacBook in the form of a phone. That's how fast this phone feels every day. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'm like, this phone is so fast that it just kind of sucks me in and I'm just doing too much on the phone. I got to put the thing down. Like I get really addicted to using the phone so much, just how fast it is. Because I remember back in the day when phones were small, they weren't super fast. They were still cool. I still enjoyed the iPhone experience. But now I feel like I'm taking this little computer in my pocket everywhere I go. And sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But, at the same time, if you're looking for the strongest performance on the market today, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is definitely the king, I think, in this area. It's not about, again, the spec sheet. It's about how Apple brings their hardware and software together to provide an experience that is pretty much unmatched on like 90% of other smartphones. Now, the next one is the brightness outside. This is the brightest phone that I've seen on the market today. Yes, there's one con to this. This phone will dim when it gets too warm to protect the internal components and the battery. But this is the brightest phone I feel like I could recommend if you're looking for it. That's a 14 Pro to 14 Pro Max. If you're outdoors a lot, when you put it in auto brightness mode and accessibility settings, you will definitely get some of the brightest display you'll ever see. This thing can crank up to 2,000 nits. So that's amazing. Really amazing. And it has really good color tuning and accuracy. Really like that as well. So the next one is the best ecosystem of products that go along with this iPhone. We do have the AirPods, we have the MacBook Air, we do have the iPads. And what's nice is that you don't have to buy the highest end. Apple now has cheaper products. Like if you don't want to like invest all that money to get the highest end ecosystem, you can still get a cheaper set of AirPods. You can get a used pair. You can get the lower end iPad, save some cash, get yourself, the cheapest MacBook or the M1 series MacBook, and you can still have your ecosystem without having to spend $2,000 for a laptop, $1,000 for an iPad Pro. You can now put your ecosystem together for cheaper and just put most of your money into the iPhone if that's your main product. So I do like that, but it's just the overall ecosystem of products. They just work really well together. Like for example, after this video, because I don't always shoot on the iPhone, but because this video I'm shooting on the iPhone, I'm just going to airdrop this to the MacBook and I'm just going to edit this thing out real quick and put it on YouTube. But at the same time, if I was using a camera or something, I would have to take the SD card out, transfer it. It's just an extra few steps. If I was using an Android phone, I'd have to plug it in. And if you have a Windows laptop, that works really well, but I'm using a Mac, so I would have to use the Android file transfer to get it onto the computer. Now with the iPhone, same thing with the AirPods. When you put AirPods with this, it just connects really quick. We have that with Galaxy Buds and stuff like that, but at the same time, you do have just a really cohesive ecosystem of products here. I think it's the best out there just because Apple controls all of those products. It's not just like you're using, like for example, with a Samsung phone, I'm using a Windows laptop with a Samsung skin on a Samsung laptop. So it's still really close, but not quite Apple level. One thing I keep seeing in the comments is the longevity factor. It's one of the reasons why people want to stick to iPhone, and one of the reasons it's the king of kings is because of that longevity factor. This iPhone is almost a year old here, but people are still using 13 Pro Max, 12 Pro Max, 11 Pro Max, and those phones are still going strong, and people don't even seem to care that they got to wait till the 15 Pro Max or whatever to update. And the number 10 is the quality control and customer service of the iPhone. So the iPhone has some of the best quality control out there. I've never bought an iPhone with scratches on it, with defects, with anything like that. The latest Pixel Folds are coming out. We're already seeing defects with them. I know those are folding devices, they're harder to create, but we've also seen some other manufacturers ship out products that are definitely not prime time top quality control. Apple has this nailed down, and every time you buy an iPhone, it's going to be basically flawless out of the box. That is huge. Also, the customer service support is also huge, especially if you live here in the States where you can just go to an Apple store and get yourself some customer service really easily, and really good customer service. It's just hard to beat. So these are 10 reasons why I think the iPhone is the king of kings. There's a lot of king smartphones out there. I covered one the other day, the S23 Ultra, but I feel like a lot of phones just benchmark themselves or try to outdo this phone. And who's the real king? If you're trying to outdo something, then who really is the real king? I hope this video spurs on a discussion. And what I want to know from you guys is, do you love the iPhone experience? Are you bored of it? Or do you think it's not the king? Some people think it's the queen of smartphones. Let's discuss that down below. And do you think the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Pro Ultra, whatever they call the thing, will it become the king as well? Or is it the end of iPhone? Let's hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well. Have a great day. Peace.